Oh my. Hey everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. I should have a bloopers reel running right at the beginning, man. I've screwed this thing up a million times, so I'm just going to go for it. This is what I wanted you to know today. Yes, I have a podcast, and today I have a guest. His name is Chris Valente. He also has a podcast. We're going to talk about his today. He's the director of sales for the Boston Red Sox, and he is one heck of a guy. I've known Chris a number of years, and he's always wanted to give back. So today, our topic of conversation is not only about sports management, which is really near and dear to Chris, but he wants to teach others how to get involved in working with professional sport teams. So his podcast is geared around that, and he's going to tell us a little bit about that. But even more exciting as well is Chris and I had some great conversation about tremendous Boston sports moments that he's been a part of, literally physically there at the venues. And of course, all of us sitting behind the screen get to watch it at home. So it was kind of fun to have a nice conversation with him about some of the greatest moments and how important it is to live in this beautiful market of Boston, Massachusetts. Anyway, I just wanted to bring attention that if you want to catch Chris's podcast called Front Office Features, which you'll see here, just go down to the link below and click on and you can get there. Also, don't forget, I also have my own podcast outside of YouTube, and it's called the Daily Inspirational Podcast, the DIP. I'll also leave a link to it to get to it through my website at drpercuoco.com below. Once you get into my podcast through my webpage, all the directories that I'm linked to are there. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Chris, and check out the podcast as well. Thanks. All right, so I want to welcome my guest, Chris Valente. Chris, great to have you on board today.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
I'm so excited. I know, you and I have known each other for a while now, and this is just part of our natural progression, isn't it?
About 14 years. It's amazing.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, 2006.
Yeah.
That's when I moved up to Massachusetts.
Yeah, because you were working in for the Devils organization.
I was in Lowell, Massachusetts. So I would come down from Lowell to see you in Hudson, get my get adjusted from all my head issues that I was having. And look, now I'm not fainting anymore.
I know. I remember those old days, and I guess it was some other doctor that you saw before that had studied under me in the neurology.
Dr. Kevin Parks.
Kevin, if you're listening, what's up, bud? I'll have to send this episode.
My
to
family
him.
Still goes to him regularly.
Really? Yeah.
He might have thrown a few of them out, but some of them still go there.
Yeah, I always loved him. One of the good people in this world, and the time that you and I have spent together over these past years have just been awesome for me, and all the opportunities that I've had to go to events and things because of who you are and who you, the man you are in business. And I guess that's one of the reasons why we're here today, which is I want to know more, and so does my audience, about this month is really on entrepreneurship, and you've been able to create this dynamic that helps young people, become active and successful in your line of work. So I'm going to leave the mic to you for a moment, and I want to hear what you've been up to.
Yeah, so it's crazy now. I've been in sports 15 years of the business that you're talking about, and I've never had a job a day in my life. And my partner and I, Rob Crane, have been very fortunate to do really cool stuff and be in a business that is probably looked upon by a lot of people in a different light than they really don't know the truth. So what he and I are doing right now are trying to give back and send the elevator back down, as I like to say, and give people the knowledge and a peek behind the curtain of what really goes on to better prepare them to get into our industry, and when they get into it, to be successful, because it's not an easy business to be successful in. It requires a lot of sacrifice. A lot of people don't understand what the pay is going to be, the hours.
Right.
It's not fantasy football that you're getting a job for. It's actually real world work. And it's sometimes hard for a 22, 23-year-old to adjust to that. So we're now providing that insight into our world and hoping that enough people will hear it and use that knowledge next time they have a conversation with myself or someone in the business.
Right. So you guys, your partner and you're both actually part of this world.
Yep.
So he's actually in the world too. He's not just like somebody who does podcasting or something, right, is obviously in this business and knows what's going on.
Yeah, he's been in the business 15 years as well. So he's actually the SVP of the Pawtucket Red Sox, our AAA affiliate, because I'm with the Red Sox.
Right.
And he's in the middle of building that new stadium out here in Worcester. So
nice.
He's launched a couple different teams around the country. So he has a lot of knowledge in terms of the way the world works. And he's this project that he's working on with Larry Lucchino to build a brand new stadium in Worcester.
Right.
is enviable of most people. So for him to just shed some light on that process to let people understand it, I think people are intrigued by it.
What's the step process that it takes to get into your line of work? I mean, is it a college-based thing? They got to go through schooling and so talk me through that.
Yeah. So I majored in sports management, but that is not a requirement. The biggest requirement is while you're in school, to get active, right? Get involved. So when you graduate with this piece of paper that says, congratulations, you now owe $250,000 in debt, what does that really mean? So what did you do while you were there? Did you get involved with the sports teams while you were there? Did you get involved with the stadium, the arena? Did you get internships? Did you network? Because if you wait to the moment you graduate to start looking for a job in my business, you're dead. There's no chance unless you know somebody. And that is not going to be enough anymore because so many people want to work in sports. And their answers for why we're doing this podcast is usually off because they're like, oh, I'm a huge sports fan. I have a passion for sports. It's like, yeah, you and the rest of America.
Especially from New England, man. I mean, like we were talking off camera, it's like we're spoiled.
It's completely spoiled. So, and that's a great point. So a kid will graduate and say, oh, I'm from Boston. I want to work for the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, or the Patriots. I'm like, okay, well, let's boil this down for you. That's a pretty small group of jobs available.
Right.
You're probably going to have to move. I mean, I was here. I left. I went to Albany and came back.
Yeah.
But it's just there's a lot of misinformation out there for these kids, and we're trying to educate them and tell them what they should know rather than what they want to hear.
Should they be? So let's say a kid's coming out of high school and he's thinking, I want to be involved in sports.
Yep.
I want to be in this industry. I want to do it for my life because it's so exciting. They don't know how hard it is to work their way through it, I'm sure. But so when they get to school immediately, like in college, that's the first thing they got to be thinking is, I need to network. I need to be involved. I need to figure out all these steps long before I get this piece of paper that says I have a degree.
Immediately. I mean, now with LinkedIn, I mean, that didn't exist when I was in college. The internet was barely even a thing when I was in college. Facebook was being invented when I was in college. You can reach out to anyone you really want to at this point within the industry because their title's there, their contact information is there. And I'm always impressed by the kids who decide to do that.
Right.
And like, reach out to the Boston Red Sox and say, hey, can I have some time? And I always say yes. And I know a lot of people in my industry do. So if you're that kid and you actually have a connection with me before you graduate and 4 years later you're looking for a job and we've built this rapport, whether it be with us or somebody else, I can at least help you.
Right. Do you get involved with interns at all?
Yeah, no, so less and less now as I've progressed in my career, but we do have a sales associate program that these kids come in for under a year post-grad and work for us, where we train them and build them up and help them get ready for their next job, and they hope to stay with us. But if not, we guarantee them that we will help them get a role within the industry, whether it be in Boston or California or whatever. So it's really all about just giving back. And like, I wish I had that when I was younger.
Right. I mean, that's what's so cool about podcasts, number one. You can get great information from people who care.
Yeah, and the barrier to entry is getting a microphone and setting up and hanging out with your friends and talking about what you like, right?
I know. So, I mean, some days I just pinch myself and I think, I have a 30-year career as a doctor and I've loved it. But at this stage, I'm a little tired. My body's a little beat up from doing it.
Yeah.
But my lips still work.
Yeah. And you can hang out and just shoot the shit with your friends, right?
Absolutely, and get something out to young kids. So one thing that I'm hearing you say, and by the way, for even our audience, I didn't have any of this conversation with you before. So it's kind of, I'm learning from you, which is really cool about podcasting. But so when it comes to the kids that are, they're getting out of school, I only assume that they need to work for free for a while. Is this a piece of it or not?
Well, it used to be. The laws have changed. But no, I think it's you probably look at it from an hourly rate, it's probably free. So I think it's obviously an extremely stressful time when you graduate, right? Your parents are telling you, hey, you have a degree, you need to get a job.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually talking pre-degree.
Oh, pre-degree. Yeah. So yes, get out there, volunteer, get your resume loaded with experience. So when you come and sit down and talk to me when you do finally graduate or while you're doing this, you have a story to tell rather than you were a waiter at Applebee's. Like,
Right.
no offense
Not
to
that there's
Applebee's,
a problem with that either.
but
yeah.
if you're trying to set yourself up for a career post school, you got to make those sacrifices while you're young. You got to put down the beer bottle at Thursday night and go volunteer with the sports team who might be having a game that night. So at least you have a story to tell other than hey, I have a degree.
Yeah. And it shows hunger.
Completely.
Yeah.
And it shows people willing to do what it takes, because you're competing with thousands and thousands of people for 5 jobs.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, you want to be the CMO of a Boston team, there's 4 jobs in the city of Boston.
Wow.
So what's the likelihood of you getting that role?
So what was the likelihood of you getting your position? How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, so I was fortunate because sports probably 15 years ago in the industry hadn't evolved to what it is today. There was only so many sports management programs in school. I went to UMass, which was one of the top 2 in the country.
Right.
So when I was graduating, I was in the same boat. I was like, what do I do now? And an opportunity came up to work for the Giants. So my first gig out of school was to go work for the New York Giants in community relations. So they drafted Eli and me the same year. I tell everybody, he's still playing. I'm still playing. We're doing great.
Yeah.
He got a little bit of a bigger signing bonus than I did, but
I think you're doing a better job.
yeah, right now people might argue that,
Right.
which is funny. But I love Eli.
Yeah.
But so I got in the business and was tail between my legs, walked in. I'm like, wow, I'm working for the New York Giants. I'm around Michael Strahan, Tiki Barber, Eli Manning. Like, this is amazing.
God.
Like,
Yeah.
it's only downhill from here. Luckily, it's been all uphill.
Yeah.
It's been great. But so I got in, and then I realized early on that while I loved my job, I still have my first paycheck. It's framed.
No kidding.
$525 after 2 weeks after taxes.
Cool.
In New York, in New Jersey area.
Yeah.
I'm going to live on the streets.
I was going to say that'll get you a taxi ride across town.
So it's like, okay, well, this isn't going to work. I love my job, but I need to make some money.
Right.
So then I went into the whole sales thing with the Devils for the next 8 years. And here I am sitting a 2-time World Series champion with the Boston Red Sox 15 years later.
So I'm going to be a little selfish and ask you, which of the 4 sports gives you the greatest thrill?
You know what? So I was a baseball player growing up. And I was like on 5 teams. I had a passion for baseball, and I was getting knocked out all the time. It was from baseball, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Being able to have a World Series ring I can't even put it into words. And now I have 2, and I have 2 kids. And so I'll be able to give them each something to remember me by when I'm gone.
Yeah.
My daughter's getting the bigger one. The last one this past year was ginormous.
Yeah.
So it's really special to have a World Series. I mean, I grew up a Yankee fan. Everybody knows I grew up a Yankee fan. I'm from New Jersey. But to be part of that rivalry and understand it, and then have a Red Sox World Series ring, I can appreciate it just as much as if I had grown up a Red Sox fan.
Doesn't that just make your passion so much more for what you do as well?
It makes it easy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a job. Like, I go to work, I guess you could say, but I'm getting paid to do something I love. And if you can do that in life, that just changes everything.
That is life right there.
You don't dread waking up and getting out of bed in the morning or having to be at the ballpark. And people ask me all the time, does it get old when I'm down on the field before the game with folks and they're getting on? I'm like, the second it gets old, I'm out. Right. I'm done. It's when you know it's over.
But don't you feel like when somebody comes on to the field, maybe for the first time, you've been there 1,000 times.
That's the best moment for me, though.
Right. You relive it.
It's like watching someone's face saying, oh my God, I'm on Fenway Park, standing on the field, and they're all of a sudden it reverts to their childhood memories, because most people from New England's childhood memories are Fenway Park.
Absolutely. You know, my grandmother, she passed some time ago, but I'm sitting upstairs, I'm having a conversation with her and just kind of shooting the crap. And she says, yeah, I saw Babe Ruth pitch for in the World Series in 1918.
How cool is that?
I go, what? She goes, yeah, it cost like 25 cents to go to the game. I took the T from Arlington down to the game. I was 16 years old. I hooked school, and I watched Babe Ruth pitch in the World Series.
I mean, that's amazing.
I'm just like, what?
And then you can walk on the same field that Babe Ruth was on. Like, the Garden's gone. The Patriots are playing in a new stadium. Fenway Park's 107 years old now.
Yeah.
Think about how much stuff has happened there, and everybody here in Boston can revert back to being a child for 3 hours when they step foot on that field. And for me to be able to do that for somebody is awesome.
You did that for me one day. I remember this. It was some afternoon, and you had called the office and said, "Hey, I've got a couple of tickets to a Bruins game tonight." And for those of you who do or don't know, my biggest tickle out of the 4 groups is the Bruins. I love them all, but the Bruins are my favorite of all.
Black and gold.
Black and gold, baby. I can't get enough of it. So I think you were working for Nesson at the time and said,
Yep.
why don't you come on up? I've got a luxury suite with Nesson, and you were busy doing your work. But I sat there with my son, Lorenzo, for like, I don't know, maybe almost a period and a half, and no one else had shown up. I'm sitting in this luxury suite watching the game, and my son is having like 9,000 Coca-Colas, which his mother would have killed him.
But does he remember this probably?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's those moments that you can help people create. It's
funny
there's
because
nothing else to do in the world.
You said to him, excuse me, you got Lorenzo. My son's Lorenzo. He said, Lorenzo, what could make this better? How much you loving this? And he goes, it's really good, but next time can we go into the locker room? Yeah. And I'm like, that kid's thinking large right now. I kind of like that.
Aim big, right?
And another time you were so gracious to get tickets for me and my wife, and we went to the broadcast booth.
Yep.
And that was so much fun. I met Dale and Billy and all the guys. I was like, and you know what? To the testament to the world that you live in and the people that work there, they're all really cool people.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's like once you get in, it humbles you, because if you lose that humbleness about what you're getting to do for a living, then you're kind of an asshole, right? Like, I'm getting paid to do this. Like, you just be kind to people and understand the world that we're fortunate enough to be in, that people for 3 hours get a glimpse into. And when you do that, you should be kind.
And that can be taken away in a second by life, because life is cruel at times.
I've seen it happen to many people.
I was sitting in the broadcast booth, and it was just before the game had began, and I turned around, and Brick was there. And I was like, I got to go say hi to Brick.
I remember this.
Do you?
Yeah.
So I went over and I said, hi, I'm Pete. He goes, I'm Brick. I'm like, yeah, I know who you are. I've watched every damn game you played in, right? And he was so much fun. And my wife went over. She was scared to death. And Brick was like, my wife's cute anyway. She's like, come on over here, honey.
Hockey players aren't going to turn away a conversation with a nice, pretty lady.
No, not at all, right?
No.
Oh, my God. And who became the greatest fan? My daughter, Angelina. She loves hockey.
Yeah.
We met Terry O'Reilly upstairs at the garden.
Mr. Hurricane.
He was so much fun. And my daughter, I'm this... People who, maybe this is the first time you're hearing it, my deal is inspirationalism.
Yeah.
I love to teach people to just be inspired to have a great life. So I'm standing there, and here comes Terry O'Reilly, and he comes out of the one of the suites, and I was upstairs in one of the suites, and I go to my daughter, that's Terry O'Reilly. She goes, who's that? I go, he's part of the Big Bad Bruins. I tell him the whole story, and he walks by me, and he goes over to get onto the elevator. And so I looked at Angelina, and I said, I would love to have a picture with him. She goes, well, then go do it. My daughter, well, then go do it. I go, no, I don't want to bother him. He's with a bunch of people. And she goes, look, Dad, you're going to regret it if you don't ask him. Now just go over and do it. And I'm like, oh my God, she's me.
Sales 101. Ask for the business.
That's what I did. So I go over, and she had the Bergeron game jersey on. And I said, I'm one of those people. He's not my best bud. I wish he was.
Yeah.
Right. So I said, Mr. O'Reilly, he turns around and looked at me. I said, would it be all right if I had a photograph with you and my daughter? And he goes, absolutely. And he looked at the people he was with, and he said, give me a moment.
And hockey players, so you asked me about the sports. Hockey players are the best. Yeah. Those guys, they're just from a different breed. They're backwoods Canada.
Right.
They're the biggest city they've ever seen is a Walmart. And then they get down here in the States, it's like, wow, this is unbelievable. And they're just humble. They're just very humble guys.
Especially when you play in a city like Boston. With with everything it has to offer, it's like if you can't find fun here, you're already.
And this is a hockey town. Yeah. Like when the Bruins are good, you can sense it.
Yeah,
and like this is a blue collar town.
It was a painful end of the year, but when I looked back at this past year, I watched every single game, and I realized how much joy they brought me.
Yeah.
Regardless, I want that cup. So don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make excuses. I mean, it was painful, and I suffered, but we'll come back. Just like the Pats came back 2 years ago from a painful loss.
It is. People don't realize how hard it is to win. It is so hard. Even to get there is amazing, but then to win, and it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
In any sport.
In any sport.
And that's what the Patriots are ridiculous. I don't even understand.
They
defy logic.
That's a freak thing.
It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense.
What makes sense is how much people hate us for it because they wish they had it.
You know what's funny is I'm growing up in New Jersey as a Yankee fan. Everyone grew up here hating the Yankees, and it's hilarious to watch now. The New Englanders have become exactly what they hated, and now you understand why everybody. Now you understand
the evil empire.
Yeah, it's now you get it. It's like, okay, we understand now too. Like, I get it. I'm sick of the Patriots. Let's go. Somebody else needs to win. But yeah, it's the whole Yankee thing.
So what's the name of your podcast?
Front office features.
Front office features.
So two guys in the front office talking about two guys in the front office talking about real world sports stuff. And then we're going to be interviewing real world people and executives that are also in the business to get their takes and how their career started and to give advice. So our first one that we'll be rolling out Tuesday is Larry Lucchino.
Nice.
Who will be in the Baseball Hall of Fame and is the CEO emeritus of the Boston Red Sox. I mean, not a bad guy to start with. So
Right. That guy knows a lot of stuff.
We're pretty good at marketing, like we'll use that name to get people interested. So yeah, Larry tells his story, and he was involved in Watergate, which we had no idea, which is incredible.
Yeah.
With Hillary Clinton, we were like, wow, this is nuts. I mean, he was a lawyer and this whole thing. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing, is just giving a week recap of like what happened in the world of sports, and then giving a peek behind the curtain to like show you how something may have gotten done and give some more insight.
So if I were to like completely stop being a doctor and forget all this inspirational stuff, I could come and start my career.
Absolutely. Sure. No, what? Yeah. I always tell people who later in life who are like, listen, I want to move over to sports. I'm like, don't do it. Just don't do it. It's you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
It's funny. One of my family members had said to me, they knew I was speaking for a big company. I was doing a keynote address, and they go, how much you get paid for that? And I told them, and they go, I should be doing that.
Yeah.
I go, then do it.
Do it. Someone this week said, I saw you launched a podcast. I want to do that. I'm like, so do it. Like you literally need to buy your microphone, turn on your computer and just start. And then who knows where it's going to go.
But here's the other piece of that puzzle, right? You have put in tremendous effort, consistent action, your whole career, your whole life, right? That's what gets you here. And most people just won't see that. Yeah,
no. And our message to people too is like, listen, just get off your ass. Like if you want to make something happen, go do it. And what's the worst that's going to happen in your early 20s? If you fail, pick yourself back up. But that's the time to try.
Even if you fail, I had a guest on, and he's probably listening right now, Joe D out there in LA. Joe, awesome to.
I feel like as an Italian, we all know a Joe D. I know, right? Everybody knows a Joe D. I know a Joe D. You know a Joe D.
And it's awesome. Being around the Italian market, I can't help it. I'm Italian. What are you going to do? I live that way. I'll probably start giving you.
We're doing a good job keeping our hands down right now. Not speaking with our hands.
But it's just nice to have people come on board that just have a message that's going to resonate. And your message is obviously that you can have these amazing careers filled with passion and excitement.
100%.
But you're not getting it without the hard work that goes into it.
Or take a chance. Right. Like get up. Like I said, just chase your dream when you have a chance, because things get in the way. Life gets in the way. Like I can't make the same decisions I made 15 years ago to take this risk and move up here and take the job I did, because I now have a family and I'm making the decisions for 4 people versus one person. So I always encourage people, like, listen, the best case scenario for you in life is you get to do something you love. Right. And the only way you're going to figure out if that's going to happen is if you actually try and go do it.
Right. It's funny. I kind of got off track there with Joe. Joe had said to me, he left the Spartan Race Company and he had been working with them for a bit and decided it was time for him to, chase a bigger dream for himself. Yep. He goes, but when I got out there, immediately it wasn't easy. He was taking a hit. Things weren't working right. He goes, but you know what? He said to himself, if it doesn't work and I get spanked and I go bankrupt, which is my worst case scenario, I'm in my 20s.
Right.
I can recover.
I mean, you can always go home.
You can always go home. And then pick you up your bootstraps and do it again.
Everyone's failed, right?
Yeah.
If you go through life without a failure, then congratulations. So everyone's going to fall down at some point. It's just a matter of how you pick yourself back up.
And you're so right, because everybody, the antithesis or the opposite of growth and development is pain and suffering and failure. Obviously, they have to go hand in hand. That's how you measure life in the first place.
I mean, look at athletes. That's the epitome of athletes. I mean, Tom Brady was a backup quarterback. Right. He wasn't even the starting quarterback, and he was drafted in the sixth round.
Yeah.
And he could have said, okay, well, I'll be a typical 6-rounder and that's it.
Or I can be a backup for 5 years.
We're all going to work my butt off and I'm going to be the greatest of all time. And I mean, that's no different than your career. It's you control that.
And you mentioned humility and, and being humble in your journey. And I mean, I look at him and I think, well, there's a great example of humility. Somebody who's made it to a specific level that, anybody who wants to be in that arena, that's the gold medal standard.
If you can marry Giselle and stay humble, congratulations.
Right.
To have the life that guy has.
Right. And everything he touches turns to gold.
He was kissed from God or something. I don't know. That guy has been blessed, but he's earned it. He works his butt off. I mean, that documentary where you got to see behind his life for a little bit.
Yeah.
He's 43 years old out there still busting his ass in his backyard working out.
And he's as good as he's better than he was in the combine.
And he's driven. It's all, I mean, he's on a different level. Listen, you don't have to be Tom Brady to be happy in life, but
sure,
it's still the same principles of like, he chased his dream, he went for it, he got it. And you can do the same if whatever business you want to be in.
Right. You just have to keep working at it and work through the pain. But I would say this, that for every very successful man or woman that we see out there, there's a support staff behind them, which is probably mom and dad to begin with.
Oh yeah,
to help instill those values and how to work past your difficult moments. And that's not spoken enough about, especially in the youth generation. Now you're trying to help these young kids get out there and really understand what they're about to get into and how to maximize it. But the message is, dude, if you don't get up and do it, it's not going to happen on its own.
No, nobody anymore. Nobody gives you anything, right?
No. Nobody's
going to just hand you something. If you're fortunate enough to be born into that, congratulations. But most of the time, you have to go earn what you get, and nobody's just like, here you go, here's a job, here's the playbook, off you go. Right. You have to go earn it yourself.
I don't know if you remember this, but when we met, we've been talking quite a bit about baseball and hockey and all, in your basic development. But there was a time in there when you said to me, the most important thing to you at that time, which I see is now developed, is that you cared a lot about kids.
Yeah.
And that you really wanted to help bring kids along so they could have a dream and that they could make it happen.
Well, that's also the reason I'm still in sports, is it kind of kills two birds with one stone, right? So the power of sports to give back, to make a kid's day. We were talking about the memories that your son will have forever.
Yeah.
Like that is really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And if you just flip a kid a baseball or a hockey puck, or when an athlete walks into a hospital room and a kid's sick and all of a sudden they perk up like nothing else, like what other better feeling in the world is that than to just make some child's day or forever? Like they're going to remember that forever.
Right.
And that's a powerful thing to have. And I appreciate that power. And I always instill that into my people underneath me. It's like, look, don't take it for granted, but also give back, because you're very fortunate to be paid to be here, but people would kill to have your job.
Right. And, I assume that after a lot of years of doing something like you're doing, what's going to make it seem like it's like still the first day is the people you surround yourself with.
It's all about who you work with.
Yeah.
You could say you work for the Boston Red Sox, but if the people around you aren't good people and they're not fun to be around and you're not enjoying their company,
right,
your day-to-day is gonna be miserable. It's sometimes more important to who you work for as your boss, that you're growing from them, learning from them, than necessarily saying you get to work for the Boston Bruins, right? Like, great, congratulations, but if you go home and you're miserable every day, what's the point?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, like if the Bruins had called me, one thing is kind of a little bit of I don't know if it's a dream. It's kind of a little wish list, so I don't put a lot of stock in it. But I had a chance to be the personal development coach in the National Women's Soccer League with the Boston Breakers. And I really enjoyed my time with those athletes. And, a little tickle in me would always love to be one of those type of inspirationalists that work with the players on a professional hockey team, but not just any hockey team.
The Boston Bruins.
The Boston Bruins, So it's like, but you know what? That may happen in the future.
It may happen.
It may happen because
life comes at you in funny ways.
It really does. And, I'm on the latter half of my life, right? I'm in my mid-50s. I don't know how much time my journey will give me. None of us do.
Yep.
So even now, the message that I have for the young kids out there is, it's carpe diem, right? You've got to seize the day, because you might waste 20, 30 years thinking that maybe someday,
No, that's 100%. And that's why we say in your 20s, if you're going to do it, because you can't do it in your mid-50s sometimes to take those risks because you have a family.
Yeah, you have so much riding on it that even still, if you did it and made it, it would be absolutely awesome. And I find myself in that position now. I still have some critics that are like, you're going to give up a 30-year career as a doctor to just be a podcaster / video guy / speaker. I'm like,
but if you're happy, because you're happy, right? Like, and people change careers all the time.
Of course.
I mean, you go through life and you're not not the same person you were. I'm not the same person I am at 37 than I was at 22. Like I've changed.
Well,
completely.
I can attest to that because I've watched you grow all these years. Now you got a full beard.
And now, I have a full beard.
All the hair that was on your head is now on your chin.
It's on my face. Yeah, that's just for me to prove that I can't do it.
Absolutely. So I will say that after all the time that we've spent together, I've actually watched your dream develop. And it's so inspiring just to see it in the first place because, I think back to the time when you and I were spending time together in my practice. You had a bad shoulder. You'd had some other issues going on.
It was a mess.
Yeah, it was a tough time for you then. And I got to breathe a little bit of something into your world at that time that I think you just needed. You needed some of that stability about your brain and about all these injuries that you had. You went through a lot of stuff that I personally saw of you physically, and you overcame those things too. So
yeah, I mean, it goes like you're in your 20s and you don't even think about it because you think, oh, I'm in my 20s, I'm fine, I'm healthy, but stress is a killer. I had no idea what it was doing to me. So at the end of the day, I was like, why is my shoulder hurt? Why am I gaining weight? What is going on? Like, I don't understand. I'm happy. I love my job, but I was stressed because I was working a lot. And
you were working a lot.
I was working a lot. And I mean, that's this business. That's what we tell people is like, it's not a 9 to 5. This is a lifestyle. And you're working 3 days and 3 weekends in a row and you holidays and so forth. So it breaks you down and you don't sometimes listen to your body and you get in trouble like I did.
And, you're so right because when it comes to working hard, I mean, here's another piece that I've witnessed in you, in your journey is that when it's time to work, man, you got to work.
You got to work.
You got to work. And it's not all glory.
No.
There's a lot of hard stuff.
It's still work.
It's work.
That's why they call it work.
Right. But when I see you on television, right, and when I see you on the Green Monster and all the times I've been down the park with you, it's like I get to see what has been created by a skillful blueprint of where you want to go.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool. So I know that anybody that comes and listens to your podcast is going to go, oh, this is gold.
I hope so.
Because I don't know, is there anybody else that's out there right now that's doing exactly what you're doing?
So we don't think so. I think that's why we did it. We think there's a white space for people who are still actually in the business on a day-to-day to be able to provide all that insight. There's people around the business that talk about it, but we think that being in the business will provide more context for people that are trying to get some feedback. So
yeah, if I was going to take batting practice from Jim Rice, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, hearing it or experiencing it from somebody who's had the passion for it is huge.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, as you grow and you learn to work smarter too. So this business can burn you out, and that's the biggest thing that happens to people early in their 20s is they get burnt out because of all the hours and they see their friends out on a Thursday night and they're having fun and they're at work. Right. I've learned to work a lot smarter, and obviously as babies come along and family, you have to prioritize stuff, and then you just have to have a very good work-life balance to continue to be fortunate to still be in this business. And a support system, like you said, I have a very supportive wife who is very understanding of my job, where some people might not have that.
Yeah, your wife is amazing. I know she's probably going to listen to our podcast.
Yeah, I think so.
And
we know we have one listener from her.
She's the cutest thing in the world, and your kids, forget it. Zach and Emma are just like awesome.
They are. We were very lucky. I mean, we have 2 extremely happy, healthy children, which is all that matters, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if tomorrow I don't work in sports, but my kids are still around,
you're happy.
I'm good.
Yeah.
And my career today, I've always said, if tomorrow for some whatever reason I can't do this anymore, no regrets. I've been very fortunate. I've experienced stuff that most people would only dream of. Right. And it goes back to because I chased my dream. My parents, who were extremely supportive of everything and going into this, always asked, like, how are you going to make a career out of this or make any money? Like, they're like, you're going to be living at home forever. Like,
right.
And they still say to this, like, wow, not bad for a kid who 15 years ago we were questioning, how is this going to work?
Right.
But they told me, like, chase it, go for it. If this is what's going to make you happy, we're all in.
That's all the more reason for people to follow you because they see that it can be done.
Yeah, it can
From
be.
a kid with no privilege.
None.
Just an idea and some passion.
Yep.
And one of the first things you said to me along the way is, I just want to help. I wasn't shocked. I was like pleasantly surprised to hear you say, I kind of want to get into helping kids. I want to help the next generation get to the next level. And I was like, wow, holy crap, you are the real deal.
No, I've enjoyed going to colleges and speaking to kids and like they're engaged and you can see that they're actually like listening. I've talked to some high school kids too. They're a little bit tougher. Yeah. They just want to get through the day.
Yeah. Sure.
Where like a kid in college they're a class because they've chosen to be there and you can tell that they're really into it. And whenever, like I said, whenever someone reaches out to me on LinkedIn to talk about advice, I always say yes. I've never said no.
Yeah.
I always encourage people to do it. I'm like, I'll do it anytime you want. I'll do it late at night, early in the morning, during lunch, weekends, whatever. Because I would have appreciated that at my stage of my career when I was 20, 21, trying to figure this out. Yeah. If an executive of a sports team would be willing to take 5, 10, 15 minutes to talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing. And the networking part, I don't mean network with people just because you're trying to get something, but you and I have networked with each other just because we're friends.
It's a relationship.
Yeah, we built something that's strong enough, then here we are today. And where will we be next? I don't know.
If you told me in 2006 we'd be sitting down here doing this, I'd be like, what are you talking about?
You're nuts.
What's a podcast?
You know what that
What's
is?
an iPhone? I don't even know what that is.
Right? And it's just like the opportunities are abound. But I watched you almost break at one point. And I'm like, man, I hope he finds that nut sooner than later because your body's going to physically snap. And I don't say that to scare the audience. I want them to know, though, that when they go into your line of work, they're going to work.
Yeah.
And it's a good time to get in when you're young.
No, and I was lucky to have someone like you to get me back on track, because it's and eventually it's yourself. You have to do it for yourself, right? You look in the mirror and say, this can't go on. I have to fix this.
Right.
And I had to find ways to de-stress and make sure I was taking time, and I was taking vacations that just weren't the right vacations, and getting my mind off of it and just learning to be a better person for myself, to not have my body break down in my early 20s. And it's definitely helped. And I feel great. As you ever see me every couple of months, my body seems a little bit better than when you see me on a weekly basis.
Well, we're going to find out in a minute when I take a look at you after this podcast.
I might break in half when you go to snap that back.
You are obviously a very blessed man, knowing your family and knowing you. And I'm like, wow. And then to see what you're now willing to offer to everybody else, I think it's imperative that people get on your dang podcast and start listening.
It's fun, right?
Yeah.
Like it just feels good to do good. And it's just, if everyone in the world was doing that, the world would be a better place.
And I think that's where the relationship parts come in. The more healthy relationships that you foster, when you fall, somebody will be there to pick you up.
Completely. You get the negativity in your life out.
Right.
Like, do not surround yourself with negativity. Like the drama as you get old, like you don't even want to be involved in that. Like, who's got time to deal with negativity? Like,
you must see that even in the athletes at times when things go a little sour, locker rooms can turn a little
quickly
awful. Yeah, right.
Quickly. Yeah. It's a stressful situation. There's a lot of money on the line, and it's their careers are on a different. I mean, they have a short window, and they're all trying to make that big money before it's over. Right. And they're together so much. People think an athlete's life is very glamorous, and don't get me wrong, we'd all probably love that life.
Sure.
But there's a lot of cons to it. Like, you don't see your family. You're living out of a suitcase. You're on the road.
Yeah.
It's a long, long season.
I always think that like baseball has got to be the longest haul of all the sports. I mean, over 160 games. It's like, holy crud. How many cities are you in? How long are you away from?
Think about how people talk about jet lag after one trip. These guys are going from city to city to city to city, back to home, back on the plane again, like at all hours of the night, flying through, landing.
Then I got to play baseball.
Right. And I know it's not the most like physically taxing sport, but it's still mentally extremely baseball is all mental.
You know, I listened to some of the interviews of other athletes that have come played at Fenway Park, and they're fired up.
Yep.
Because they're coming back to the seat of where, all of this began.
It's the oldest stadium in sports right now.
Right. And is Wrigley second, maybe?
Wrigley second, yeah.
And thank God they didn't chop it up into, some new stadium and get rid of it.
Our ownership group, Henry and Warner, made a commitment, and it was actually Larry Lucchino who was in charge of rebuilding the stadium to make sure, and they put over $300 million into Fenway to make sure it doesn't fall down, just to make sure it can even still be operable.
Right.
And I can't foresee the ownership group who broke the curse tearing down Fenway Park. That's probably not going to be them.
Yeah.
Eventually Fenway will probably have to go, unfortunately. It just structurally will never last forever, but
I hope it's not in my lifetime.
I don't think it'll be in our lifetime, but eventually, buildings,
they falter.
And especially when they were built.
Unless they're the Coliseum or something.
That's true. Yes. That is an amazing thing. But there's also not 30,000 people sitting in there every single night.
Correct.
But no, it's to be able to call Fenway Park your office.
Right.
Again,
So let me ask you about that. Where is your office? Do you have an office there?
So we've exploded from a size of an organization. We're actually moving into a new office outside of the ballpark because we're just getting so big. So we're moving actually above Fenway Johnny's.
Are you really?
Yeah, our new
Above
office
John's
is
place?
literally going to be above Fenway Johnny's.
Wow.
Brand new 2-floor, but there's people in Fenway. There's people now across the street from Fenway. There's over 300 people that work for the Red Sox.
Wow.
On a full-time basis.
Well, that's good. You can go downstairs and hang out with John.
Yeah, I think 5 o'clock's going to sound a little bit different upstairs, and then when the bar opens, and we're going to hear people sauntering in, or on a weekend when people are pre-gaming. So
yeah, I was just talking to John. I want to say a quick hello to John Karen, who owns and operates West End Johnny's and
now Fenway Johnny's.
Fenway Johnny's, fantastic places to go. John is.
I saw him the other day in our suite.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, he was hanging around. He's a legend.
He's a nut. I go in there, and John and I have known each other for years. I went into brought some. Matter of fact, you were kind enough to give me some tickets to go see the Red Sox and the Yankees play.
Yep.
I brought a young kid with me, a la, what we're talking about today. Get the young kids involved. He's a college athlete, loves baseball. We had a wonderful time.
So he had a great time.
He really did. I had a good time with him. Of course, he meets John, and John is so influential with all the people that he knows. But
no, he's an FOJ. Is he an FOJ now?
Yeah,
you get the friend of John card?
Yeah, the FOJ card.
Yeah.
You got to have that.
Got to have that.
I asked John, I go, can I have one? FOJ card means friend of Johnny, for those who didn't know. It just, you get into the...
You skip the line.
You skip the line, basically. And you're like, well, what's the big deal? Well, if you ever been to Johnny's, man,
on
the
a
line
Saturday night in the Bruins game, you want to skip the line when it's freezing cold outside.
Oh God, I was coming down I went to Game 7 with my wife, Lisa. It was her birthday, May 28th, 2011, when they beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in Game 7, 1-0.
I was at that game.
You were too?
Rachel, we were living in Albany, and I surprised Rachel when we came back for that game. That game was unbelievable.
That was so exciting.
That might have been that was one of the best sporting events I've ever been to.
Yeah. You know what? There were no penalties.
None.
No fights.
And then Horton scored with 3-4 minutes ago in the game. It was unreal. I've seen the Garden Rock twice like that game, and then when they came back against the Maple Leafs in Game 7 when they were down 4-1.
That 3-game.
I stayed. I had just joined the organization, and everyone left, and I was like, I'm not leaving. I want to watch the handshake line. I love it. It's hockey. The season's over. And they came back and won.
I know.
It was unbelievable.
That was the Bergeron goal.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, just
Char scored to tie. The place was rocking, and then it went to overtime. And from the second the regular ended to overtime, nobody sat down. They just rocked out for 17 straight minutes. They came on the ice. Bergeron scored, and then everybody.
Well, that was like
it was crazy.
That Tampa game, Game 7. The place was thumping
all night, shaking.
And when they scored and it went crazy, they went to commercial, and Bergeron and Marchand were skating around the dot, and I could see Bergeron kind of tap Marchand on the shin pad.
Here it comes.
And he was like, "Take a look at what's going on." It was like, wow. Then they played Bob O'Reilly.
If I could explain why I love working in where else can you go to work and get that moment?
Oh, geez.
I mean,
it could happen at the most inopportune moments too.
It's just unbelievable.
A Tuesday night at 9:30 when you're about to go to sleep, and Marchand has a breakaway on a 3-3 tie and wins. The place goes crazy.
Where else are you going to get that at work? Right. That's my job.
Yeah, it's funny because even myself in my own office, sometimes I feel those walls begin to close in. I spent too many years there. I've loved the work that I do, but at the same time, it's time for a new dream, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if you think too about the impact you've probably had on all the folks along the way, and that goes a long way. And if you can go to sleep at night knowing that someone's better off because of something you've done for them, and that's kind of where my mind at a very different level for the sports thing and creating memories, but you're creating health, which is a little bit more important.
But in connections too. So, I life coach and I teach people the things that I've learned over a number of years, and especially because of my background in brain and neurology, I kind of teach it to them from how your brain is, what it's doing and what it's controlling. But if I do look back someday, and I'm not doing any looking back now, I'm not a look back kind of guy.
Yeah.
But I think what you just said is probably paramount. It's that it wasn't all the people I treated. It was the relationships I developed and how we breathe something into each other's lives.
Completely.
So it's always like an open faucet. It goes in two directions, doctor-patient, if you will. And you and I are doctor-patient.
Yep.
You've given to me, I've given to you, and it's going to continue like this, and just for the betterment of everybody else. But every once in a while, it's nice to grab a ticket to a game.
Yeah, why not?
A little bit of indulgence for all the good work that you do. And I think that's a great message for the youth, not only to get working, find your resources like your podcast, know your name, know your face, which they can, because if you're listening to this, by the way, and it's just on my Apple podcast, click over onto my YouTube channel and you can watch the video interpretation of this, because that'll be pretty cool. You can get a good look at your
my
handsome
right
little
side,
face.
my beard.
Yeah, I noticed you wore your hat today, so there was no glare off the light.
I did. That's right. That's right. The kids. I think with now having a girl, as you know, there's gonna be a little less up there too as she gets a little older.
Sure.
But
she's a run for your money.
she's great.
Already.
My son's in trouble. She's now moving around. He's in trouble.
Yeah, she's a piece of
You're gonna
work.
bowl him right over.
Yeah, and I'm sure you and your wife are great parents too, but you're a great inspirer. So your kids are destined to have the best tools to move forward. I always knew that about you. That's why we've always maintained our relationship. It's organically simple.
No, I mean it's not rocket science, right?
Yeah.
It's just like if you have a dream, you get one life, go for it.
Right.
Go for it.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Like
This is going to be over soon.
Yeah, and you never know what's going to happen. Like you just don't know where it's going to go. And if I'd started 15 years ago, like I said, who knew this is where I would end up?
Right.
I have a long way to go, hopefully.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
And people still ask me like, what's next? I have no idea.
Yeah. But you're loving the journey.
But you're along for the ride. Like, I don't know what's next. Who knows? Someone could call me tomorrow and be like, you want to move to Italy? Yep, I'm in. Here we go.
I've seen your pictures of what? Now you're in Italy? What the heck just happened?
Yeah. No, my wife, Rachel, she wants to move there. My parents are moving there next year.
Wow.
When they retire. They're going to go live there for 3 months, check it out. Maybe have a little place over there, and I hope so I can go over there whenever I want. But
well, let me tell you something, my man. That is my newest dream. Well, I say my new dream. I had a dream and I fulfilled it. And I've always had this background dream that's been building.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that I podcast and then I do video and I coach and I speak is because I want to spend time in Italy. I have an Italian passport. I'm an Italian citizen. So with the kids, I want to go and hang out in Europe for
there's
2-3 months of the summer, right?
Better way to distress than when you get off the plane. And there's 2 places in the world, I think, San Diego and Italy.
Yeah, the old gas lamp district.
Yeah, not maybe down there, but there's something about the people in San Diego. They're just so relaxed.
Yeah.
Like you get there and you just feel the culture. They're all just like, yeah.
Well, they all came from some stressful world.
Yeah, we're going along for the ride.
There.
Yeah, we're going along for the ride. Yeah. We got some seals on the beach. We're going to go surf. We're cool.
Yeah.
But the people of Italy, they know what they're doing.
When you have the right people in your life and that they own a boat. Like I don't own a boat because my friends have them.
You want to have a friend who owns a boat.
That's all.
You always want to have the friend who owns the boat.
That's it. And I always say to people, you always want a friend who's a doctor.
That too. When you got a problem, you got to call them up.
Right. I got to get it wherever I possibly can. But so it's going to be very exciting. I'm going to be making sure that everybody knows about your podcast and about the fact that
vice versa.
Cool. And that who you are, what you're doing, how important it is. And I think it's an awesome opportunity for anybody to catch that weekly update with you guys and stay involved and invested with you.
Yeah. We're just 2 blokes shooting the shit, talking about stuff, having fun. It's nothing serious. It's sports, right? Can't take yourself too serious, but right. If 2 people listen to it and take something away from it that's powerful for them that they can use, fantastic.
Chris, will there be any opportunity for those people to, to communicate with you and your partner?
They have to, yeah. Otherwise, it's going to be just he and I talking. So we actually want people to communicate,
okay.
And then they
What's the best way for them to do that?
So they can reach out to us on, on LinkedIn or they're on our website, frontofficefeatures.com. There's a contact form down there that you can send in a message that you can ask a question that we'll address on the podcast.
Okay, that's great.
Social, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the whole thing, all the thing the kids do nowadays, TikTok, whatever, YouTube.
Yeah, they know how to figure
Find us everywhere. We're everywhere.
What did Belichick call it? Some goofy
face or face. Yeah.
Screw you face.
Yeah. He's like, by the way, Bill Belichick knows what Facebook is.
Yeah, of course.
What a nice little act.
He's the man of, he knows every detail.
He's like, face something. Yeah.
I bet he knows where Jimmy Hoffa is today.
I'm probably sure. He might have buried him.
He might have buried him. He's buried a lot of people in the NFL.
Probably.
That's for sure. But
coaches for sure. Ended their careers.
Absolutely. All right. So listen, let's wrap it up. I want to say thank you so much, obviously, for coming on today.
This is fun.
Yeah. We're going to do it again. And any opportunity for these young people to jump on board with you guys, I would definitely want to put on my little 2 cents and say anybody that follows you is in the right
place. And if anyone's listening who wants to talk sports in the sports industry because they're interested or need some advice, shoot me a note.
You got it. My friend Chris Valente, thanks for coming on our show today.
Thanks for having me.
You got it, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Later.
Ciao.